How's it going, everybody? My name is Cam White, and welcome back to your favorite weekly horoscope. What the fuck is going on in the universe? This time for July 20th through July 26th of 2020. Thank you guys so much for being here, liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing. I'm really excited you guys can be here with me this week. We have a lot to talk about. We have a lot to cover, so let me just jump into the announcements real quick. The only thing I've got going on is literally earlier today I recorded that webinar with Fresh Voices in Astrology. It was a ton of fun for the people that came out or got to join us in the webinar. Thank you for joining us. It was a lot of fun. I thought it was a really good conversation. The recording of it will be available. At the moment, I don't have the link, but eventually it will be right there in the comments, and I'll probably pin it along with the timestamps and everything. Should be out either when you're watching this on Sunday, if not Monday. And if you weren't able to catch the live, you can be able to watch the webinar through the link. So make sure you guys look out for that. Also, next announcement, I almost forgot about this. I'm going to be recording my August monthly horoscope on Tuesday. And just like I did the last time, I'm going to be going live on Twitch. So, and what I'm going to be doing is going over the whole month of August, and then at the end, reading some charts to use as examples for what's kind of going on in August. So if you'd like to participate and join, make sure you guys follow me on my Twitch, which is going to be in the description below. You'll get a notification when I go live, and you can join us, and I'll be able to go through the whole month of August with you. And then at the end, for those who can stick it out to the very end, that's who I'll be able to read some charts for. So anyway, those are the big things I want to get out of the way. This week is really, really big. This week's very, very important. We're finally here. A lot of shit's going down this week, so let's just jump straight the fuck into it. That's Tuesday, so let's talk about Monday. Monday, new moon in Cancer. Sun is opposite Saturn on this new moon, and then the moon goes into Leo. A lot of action going on Monday. Having this new moon on top of Saturn. I talked a lot about this last week, I feel like. However, with this new moon on top of Saturn, this is kind of like, where we need to fucking make the changes we need to fucking make. The eclipses aren't here anymore. It's not as intense. Wherever Cancer and Capricorn is at in your chart, whatever it rules, this is the area to really go like, okay, this is something that needs to get addressed. It needs to be done. It's not something that you can avoid anymore. It's something that needs to be taken care of. What does that even look like? What is the new thing that you're going to implement? What is the new thing that you're going to take care of? And this isn't necessarily like, oh, fun new thing. This is like Sun and Moon in Cancer opposite Saturn and Capricorn. This, sometimes necessity isn't always fun to take care of, when, an animal like that you own, like a pet dies and you got to bury it and shit like that. Like that's not a fun process, but it's something that needs to happen. You have to take care of that. You have to figure out a way to deal with certain situations that need, immediate addressing without it, having a plan for it, without it, affecting you too much. And I think this new moon in Cancer opposite Saturn is really like, all right, this is the direction that we need to take. This is the direction that we need to take. This is, what we need to commit to. This is what we are responsible for. This is what I'm committing to. With the Sun and Cancer stuff, this is, this is personal needs. This is personal stuff just to take care, just to get by. And, it's this new moon, right? Second new moon in Cancer. First one was an eclipse. This one's not an eclipse, thank God. So it's a little bit more chilled out, but opposite Saturn, it's serious. But then right after that, the moon goes into Leo. So there is this excitement. There is this pride that comes up afterward. There is this, sense of fulfillment that comes out of, making those commitments, taking on that responsibility, or dealing with that weight, dealing with that problem. The moon going into Leo, I think, is the sense of pride, the sense of authenticity, the sense of encouragement and passion to take care of those things. Just be sure, don't get ahead of yourself. Something I was watching this YouTube video about what happens when you talk about projects before you actually do it, and in your brain registers it as if you already did the project. So with the moon in Leo, don't get excited about making changes because you watched a few YouTube videos about making changes. Go out and do it first, and then have something to be proud of. So then as we go into Tuesday, this is when we're going to be having the moon in Leo, make a trine to Mars and a sextile to Venus. And you guys are doing the math correctly. That sounds pretty cool. The moon is literally just going to trine Mars first and then apply to Venus. So this sounds really fun. You know, that moon in Leo was really encouraging us to take some action with Mars in Aries, which, by the way, as you guys probably read at the title that I'm going to write for this, Mars is entering shadow this week. So pay attention to Mars, especially right fucking now. With the moon in Leo, starting to increase in light, moon in Leo starting to gain some confidence. The moon in Leo starting to gain some stamina. And when it gives it to Mars here on Tuesday, on Mars's day, there is this confidence of like, hey, I feel good about what I'm going after. I feel good about what I'm setting my energy and my intentions to. This is kind of like, if you've ever planned a vacation before and you're, like someone like me who will go and plan everything and then, it's all stressful, getting to the airport on time, at the airport, and then it's like it doesn't sit in, the excitement of what you're doing doesn't sit in until you're like on the plane and like flying away. God, I fucking miss that. I'd do anything to be on a plane going somewhere right now. But this is like the moon in Leo making that trend to Mars is like the moment you can get excited about going somewhere. Like after you did all of the planning, made sure you got there on time, everything was taken care of, there was no mishaps or anything. You're finally on the plane, you're flying, you're going like, wow, okay, cool. Like maybe I could be excited about what I'm doing now, what I'm going for. And the moon in Leo is really encouraging, right? That's a lot of confidence. It's a lot of like cockiness. Trining Mars, like when you have confidence in what you're, I guess, applying your energy to and what your focus is, it's easier to perform really well. It's easier to be, at your best when you feel confident in what you're doing. So I think Tuesday is actually a really exciting day, especially too, because right after the moon makes that trine to Mars, it then makes a sextile to Venus, which fucking Venus is still in Gemini. She's still right there. She does not seem to be wanting to move at all. But as the moon then, separates from Mars, then goes over to, or trines Mars, separates from it, then starts to connect to Venus, there is this, Venus is like connection, right? Venus is like what we're wanting to indulge in. Venus is going like, ooh, this tastes good. And in Gemini, it's like new flavors, new tastes, new textures. And I think as the moon sextiling Venus, Venus is going like, yeah, this is more of that stimulation I was looking for. Because we have to remember, I'm probably going super fast right now too. If we look back, Venus has been in Gemini since April, maybe March. Holy shit, I think it might have been March. I think it's actually April when Venus went into Gemini. And as we can remember, I think we all have a pretty decent short-term memory. It's been a crazy couple months since Venus has been in Gemini. We've made a lot of changes. There's been a lot of differences. There's been a lot of value switching, right? With Venus here, and she's almost out of shadow too. The moon making that sextile is like, yeah, this does feel good. Like this confidence, this pride, this does make me feel authentic. It makes me feel alive, and it's stimulating the things that I want to. It's the direction that I want to head in. That's what I would take out of this moon. This moon sextiling Venus on Tuesday, and that's basically Tuesday. Sorry, I need to quit pushing the wrong button. So anyway, on Tuesday, moon trines Mars, sextiles Venus. Oh my gosh, I keep pushing the wrong button. Then Wednesday, sun goes into Leo, moon goes into Virgo, Mercury sextiles Uranus. So Wednesday, I mean, it is also my birthday too, which I think that's actually when I'm going to post the August horoscope too. I think I'll post that on Wednesday. Anyway, on Wednesday, sun goes into Leo, Leo season begins. Now, there's a lot. I don't want to say there's a lot. There's one thing I want to focus on with Leo season, and it's the fact that we've got the sun in its domicile trining Mars as it's getting ready to go into its shadow. It's not opposing Saturn and Pluto. Like the sun in Cancer has been opposing Jupiter, Pluto, Saturn. There hasn't been room for, the Cancer sun to feel comfortable because it's like the sun, a good analogy would be like the sun in Cancer can't feel comfortable in its own home because Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter and Capricorn are right outside its door. Like even if you're inside your home, it's still uncomfortable knowing that, you've got all of this shit going on right outside your door. And however, when the sun goes into Leo, it's not going to be squaring nothing. It ain't going to be fucking opposite nothing. It's going to be trining Mars. Yeah, it'll square Uranus, but whatever. That's only for like a little bit. But besides that, it's trining Mars. It won't be sextiling Venus. Won't ever get there. But I think this is just going to be a more confident time when we talk about the sun, when we talk about our solar qualities. We talk about literally the light that we give off, the light that we show, what centers around us, what gravitates around us. And as the sun goes into its home sign where it is the most comfortable, it's not dealing with any harsh aspects. I think there is going to be a sense of confidence within us. There is this sense of like feeling more of ourselves, feeling more in alignment with who we are, feeling confident too about who we are, and just feeling more comfortable with it, right? I think that's really exciting. And then also on Wednesday, we are going to have the moon go into Virgo, where now instead of the moon being in Leo being like, yeah, I'm ready for this, I'm taking this on, I'm doing that, like, fuck yeah. Then the moon's going to go into Virgo where it's time to calculate, right? Like if you want to build your dream house, sure, you can envision it by writing on a piece of paper, but it comes down to the measurements, the specifics, the layout, how much it's going to cost. You got to do the numbers basically. And when the moon goes into Virgo, it's not even going to be aspecting anything at first. It will eventually make a square to Venus and then trine all the Capricorn stuff, but it's not really doing anything when it first goes into Virgo. So as the moon goes into Virgo, I would definitely expect like a lot of processing emotions, trying to pinpoint how we feel about certain things, kind of laying down the groundwork. This is the moon in Virgo. Like, it's easy to feel confident about something when we're thinking about it, right? When we're just feeling it. But then moon goes into Virgo and we start kind of doing the math and we're like, oh, this is actually going to be kind of expensive. Oh, this is actually going to be kind of hard. This is actually a lot to do. It could feel overwhelming, but the moon in Virgo thing is just, you're going to analyze the situation. You're going to, try to process it as much as you can. There's really no getting around it. So I think the best thing that you can do is find ways to make the math add up in your life. Take that personal inventory, clean your house, do the moon and Virgo stuff, right? Get the anxiety out, take control over something and calculate the numbers, because the moon in Virgo is just looking for clarity. Moon in Virgo is just wanting to know the specifics of the situation so it knows what it can get itself involved in. And this is the sun in Leo that the moon in Virgo is reflecting off of. So this is kind of like, hey, I feel good. I feel confident. Let me be exactly clear on why I feel that way. So taking, stock of what you have, writing down what exactly it is that you do have, that you do feel, that you can pinpoint. Like just being as specific with how you feel as possible, I think is a good way to look at Wednesday. And also Mercury is sextiling Uranus too, which isn't the biggest deal. However, this is part of the Mercury retrograde story. Mercury did sextile Uranus earlier. And honestly, I feel like so much has gone on in the news. I can't even think of when that was or what even happened. But I will say, as Mercury sextiles Uranus, transiting for the third and final time, I think that there is this better inspiration, this better idea of what it means to take care of ourselves. And Uranus and Taurus is doing things in a more holistic way, more natural way, being inventive about the way that we value things too, that Mercury and Cancer can take care of. But anyway, we must move on. There's so much more to cover. Thursday. We get to Thursday, and the moon starts to square Venus as it then makes an opposition to Neptune. It will also be, here we get to Thursday, it will also be eventually making a trine to Jupiter here, but it makes the opposition to Neptune first. And this is going to happen at really early, 2 a.m. in LA time. So it doesn't really even fucking matter for me. However, if you're somewhere else in the world, this might be also prominent for you, but I just didn't feel like it was going to be too important to talk about. However, as we get to Thursday, Thursday is when the moon's going to make that square to Venus and then go opposite Neptune. And this is where things get funky. This is where we go, okay, now that we've added up the numbers, now that I've calculated the cost, now that I've done the moon and Virgo thing, maybe this isn't what I want. It's going to be easy to trick yourself and to psych yourself out of, taking what you want. And the one thing too is this is Venus and Gemini making the square to it, right? In the superior position. So I think the question is after you do the math, after you calculate everything with that moon and Virgo, is this what you want? Is this what you're actually desiring? Is this actually what is stimulating you? I think that's going to be the big question on Thursday, is literally like, now that we've, kind of seen the errors, it's kind of like when you buy a car, and it's like really exciting at first, but then like after like 2 weeks, you're like, oh, fuck this thing. After you get through that process of like, okay, it's just a normal thing now, it's not super exciting, the rose-colored glasses have come off. Is this what I want? Is this what I'm vibing with? Am I connecting to this? Am I resonating with this? I think that it's just going to be more of a question time. This isn't necessarily going to be like, this is distasteful. I think this is more of like, is this actually what I want though? Is this what's, turning me on type stuff? Because afterwards, the moon then makes an opposition to Neptune and then trines Jupiter, where this is where, moon making that opposition to Neptune is kind of like, all right, without getting cloudy minded about things, this is kind of like thinking things through about like how do I put this, like something exciting that you've got going on in your life, right? Like whether, like the emotions that you get when you start talking to someone new, right? In a romantic way, and you're all excited and everything's very great, right? But then, it's hard to put the rationale. It's funny that I'm actually talking about this because Rhetorius, where's my Rhetorius book? Rhetorius literally talks about this with Venus and Virgo. He's like, basically, where there's love and sex, rationale is basically nowhere, and where there's logic, there is no love and sex, basically. And he basically talks about like how, like, if you're thinking with your, private parts, you're not thinking rationally, but if you're thinking rationally, there's nothing to really enjoy, and everything's kind of like bleak in a sense. And I think with the moon making that opposition to Neptune on Thursday, wow, see, did you hear that? There's fucking fireworks still. It is July 18th, and there are still fucking fireworks. Anyway, as the moon makes an opposition to Neptune, this is where it's kind of like trying to think rationally when we're really excited about something. Like, it's really easy to convince ourselves when we're excited about something. It's really easy to be like, oh, yeah, this is exactly how it's supposed to be. Like, it's better, it's better than it might be, than you might think it is, or that other people think it is. Basically what I'm trying to say is the moon is going to be opposite Neptune. Try not to put the rose-colored glasses on when you're thinking about this shit. Try to be as pragmatic as possible, because the moon makes an opposition to Neptune where it's kind of like, all right, this is exciting, but I'm not sure. Is this really what I want? Because I'm seeing things in such a distorted way. But the moon then makes a trine to Jupiter after, where Jupiter says yes to things and is affirming it. But Jupiter's in Capricorn here. Let's be realistic. This is just about being realistic. It's just about being pragmatic. It's about not looking at the glass half empty, but looking at like, how much water do we have in the, refrigerator comparative to this glass? You know what I mean? Is this our only glass of water? Because if it is, then that's a very empty glass of water. We're almost out of water. But if I can just go fill up my water in the sink, then, this is just a glass of water. Who cares if it's half full or half empty? And I think with Jupiter and Capricorn, this is with the moon, especially with the moon applying to it, this is the time to kind of just like do the math. Like, again, be very like, if you can calculate everything and it all adds up, like that one meme, like, yeah, it's all coming together. Then I would suggest to go for whatever it is that you're doing. But also on Thursday, I keep pushing the wrong button. That's Thursday, actually, I lied. That's the only thing that's going on. There we go. Next thing that we've got going on is on Friday. We are going to be having the moon make a start to apply to a trine with Saturn, and the moon will then enter Libra. And that's basically it. Let me see. Hold on. Why is it still yelling at me? My computer's really mad at me today. Yeah, so we get into Friday. Moon's teetering on the edge of Virgo, applying to Saturn. This is when the Jupiter-Neptune sextile really starts to strengthen, but it's not exact yet. Same here, too. Venus starts to get closer to Neptune, but we're not there yet. And Mercury starts to get closer to Mars, but we're not there yet. We still have a little way to go. There's a lot of shit building up by the time we get to Friday. It's very intense. But as the moon's in Virgo, it's making that trine to Saturn. It's basically going like, all right, let's say if you want to buy a fancy new car, it's all exciting when you're driving it, right? But then when you go to sign the paperwork, holy fuck, there's nothing more discouraging, frustrating, long. It is like when you're filling out paperwork for a loan, or if you've ever bought a house or anything, like it is a lot of work, and you are committing to purchasing whatever you're purchasing. This moon trine Saturn, like, is a great day if you have something that needs to be taken care of that's going to take a long time to do it on this Friday. Like, this would be a good day to like go through an old stack of books to organize, or like all of your old shit in your closet, and to figure out what you're throwing away and what you're keeping. This is just a day, again, of looking at inventory and saying, all right, what do I need? What do I not need? What am I thinking? What am I adding up? And with that trine to Saturn, kind of like giving a constructive, helpful hand here. Technically, Saturn says no to things, but I think in this situation, like Saturn in Capricorn is kind of like, Saturn says no to things, so I think throwing stuff away would be a good day for this. But I guess in a different perspective, I would think of the moon in Virgo making that trine to Saturn as like, if you're wanting to commit to something long term, if you're wanting to plan something, put together a plan or a budget or anything like that, Friday is going to be a great day to do it. Like, if this new moon in Cancer, if this is the new start and you get all confident, by the time you get to Friday, you should be able to make a future plan, whether you're meal prepping or you got to figure out, your plan ahead for your workout or whatever it is. Like, this is a great day to do that. And I think that leads into the weekend where we get a little bit, also too, the moon shines Saturn, right? But then the moon also enters Libra, where now we talk about balancing things out. We talk about, what's the word I'm looking for? Not consolidation. When someone helps you, when you like give a project to someone, like instead of you doing it, you give it to someone else. I forgot what that word is. It's not coming to me at the moment. Something with a C though. Anyway, the moon goes into Libra, and this is kind of like, where can we be a little bit more, for one, this is, again, initiating. This is a Libra sign, not a Libra sign, it's a cardinal sign. So what are we initiating? What are we beginning? This is Libra, right? We can't have everything. Everything's got to be balanced. Everything's got to be perfect. So instead of trying to push all of your weight and energy over here, make sure you're a little bit more tempered and you're doing a little bit of this, doing a little bit of that. The moon in Libra is just kind of a good day to just be fluid with your actions, with what you're doing and why you're doing it. I just think the grace and the charm of the moon in Libra, you only get a little bit of that in the beginning, because it eventually starts making an opposition to Mars, squares Mercury, squares Saturn. So as the moon goes into Libra, it's going to feel fun at first. It is going to feel, I guess, cool. But then we go into Saturday. And Saturday is where shit changes. When we go into Saturday, we have Mars entering shadow 4-1. So let's address that while we're talking about, like, since we're here. And as you guys can tell, it looks like a pretty intense day. Mars enters shadow. Mars is going to station direct once it's done going retrograde at 1514 Aries. As Mars goes into shadow, my advice is pay the fuck attention. Whatever's going on by the time Mars enters shadow, we're off to the races. There's no stopping after this. We're going. We are going. And Mars, this is probably where we're going to start initiating something. This is when we're going to start saying, like, hey, I'm ready to take this on. I've got the energy. I've got the drive. The thing is with, I don't know. I shouldn't say I don't know. I know for a fact with Mars and Aries, I've been so fucking exhausted. So tired. I've been doing more, but the more I do, the more I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't keep this up forever. And it's going to be important with this Mars retrograde to keep our energy for when it does retrograde, because that's when we're going to need it the most. We're going to be really tired for this Mars retrograde. And the tiredness really begins now. The big thing is, don't commit yourself or sign up for a big project that you don't have the energy for. The idea here is, I think we talked about this last week, or I talked about it on Twitter. Maybe it was last week on my last week's horoscope. Someone was like, yeah, it's about, no. It was on Twitter. Someone made I made a tweet, and then someone made a reply to it that was like, I guess just eye-opening about, or a good way to kind of put things. And it was like, I tweeted about how Mars and Aries, like, you don't have to do all of everything right now. Like, we've got 6 months of Mars and Aries. Like, take your time with the big projects. And, you know, someone talked about on their Nike app or something like that, they got a message of, like, the only way to win the race is to, like, pace yourself. And they were like, that's actually, like, really appropriate for this Mars and Aries thing. And, like, the big thing is, like, just pace yourself. Don't go a fucking million miles an hour down a direction just because you want to get there as soon as you can. You know, it's kind of like if you're a kid and you're going to a water park, right? Like, you know, you don't sprint into the water park because then you'll slip and break your ankle and then you can't go swimming for the rest of the day. You just fucked everything up. Like, just walk into the park, pace yourself, take your time. It ain't going nowhere. That's how I feel about Mars entering its shadow phase. And this is also something's going to come up here that we're eventually going to come back to. Whatever we're doing now, this is the thing that you just have to accept. And it's going to be hard. Trust me. Acceptance is one of the hardest things to ever do. And we have to accept that whatever we're doing right now, we're going to just have to come back to. That doesn't mean we might have to put it on pause. We might be distracted with something else or something. I'm assuming we're going to have to put it on pause. But whatever we're ending up having to initiate or whatever we are initiating, we're going to come back to. This isn't going to be this might be our first rodeo, but we're not going to end this on our first rodeo. We got a couple more rodeos to go. So just be aware. Anyway, Mars in Aries goes into shadow. Shit hits the fan, basically. Not really. It begins to hit the fan. But then the moon makes that square to Mercury and that opposition to Mars, which this is where things get a little edgy. Because as the moon squares Mercury, this is going to be kind of like, and also opposite Mars, this is a really rough day to have a conversation. Like, you know how I talked about in my monthly horoscope, I was like, oh, you know, fire someone, you know, with the Mercury-Mars square. This is a day where it's like, if you fired someone, you're going to end up promoting them on accident just because you weren't good at actually laying down the law. The moon here, like, there's just, this isn't working. There's the moon in Libra wants things to say, hey, let's find an even spot. And Mars in Aries is saying no. And Mercury in Cancer is just too cranky and is just really whiny about the situation. So I think on Saturday, on personal terms, instead of trying to be stressed out of like, oh, which thing should you do? Which side should you take? Should you go this way or that way? Is it like this or is it like that? My suggestion would be reflect on this Mercury and Cancer energy and reflect on this Mars and Aries. What is the longer term stuff that's coming up? With the moon making it first a square to Mercury, there's some type of, you know, Mercury and Cancer, some needs not being talked about. Some, sorry, you can fucking hear my neighbors are so fucking loud. You can hear, you know, not, you know, you can hear, man, I got myself, like, I'm fucking tired. It's been a long day. Anyway, Mercury, moon squaring fucking Mercury. Moon's going to square Mercury. This is not the most ideal situation to have a conversation, to talk about things, but this is where you're going to understand the roadblocks. The moon is going to then make an opposition to Mars where it's kind of like, it's pick this or pick that. It's do this or do that. There's no having both in this situation. Mars is like, you know, we can't split things up. We've got to be direct. We've got to be serious about where we're going. And I just think that Saturday is kind of like the day where we kind of have to weigh the scales and go, all right, what's more needed here? Do I need a little bit more of this or a little bit of that? Kind of a hard day to make a decision. But then we get into Sunday where it gets a little bit weirder. We have Venus squaring Neptune. It's beginning. It's going to make its way. Venus is going to start squaring Neptune like that evening, Sunday evening, into going into Monday. Mercury is going to start squaring Mars that evening going into Monday. The moon is going to be squaring Saturn most of the day and then enter Scorpio. And Mercury is going to leave shadow all on Sunday. That's quite a bit going on. And as you can see, these lines are thick right here. And the moon basically in Libra squaring Saturn is going like, oh yeah, okay, I can't have the best of both worlds. I have to choose one of these things. I can't be doing both. It's either this or that. The moon makes that opposition to Mars where you kind of have to make that choice. And then the moon squaring Saturn is kind of like, you know, making the decision, kind of saying like, okay, I don't have a choice but to do this side. You know, Moon squaring Saturn is just, this is, kind of not fun. And I guess like kind of like a lot of acceptance, but not in like the fun way. The other thing that we've got going on is Venus is squaring Neptune. This is where it gets even more confusing, because now it's just like, well, with Venus squaring Neptune, it's like, well, I don't even know what I want anymore. Like, this isn't satisfying anymore. It's like when you say a word a bunch of times and it like loses its meaning and it loses its like substance. That's kind of like Venus squaring Neptune. And so Venus squaring, like, it just looks like Sunday is just like kind of a bummer. Not like in like a, oh, everything goes to shit, but just more of like, I think our egos are really going to get hurt on Sunday, which I'm upset to say. Maybe we'll have a good day. Hopefully I'm wrong on that. But the moon squaring Saturn and then going into Scorpio is kind of like, we get told no, and so we're like, I'm going to throw a fit. Like, fucking, who tells me fucking no? Like, that's moon squaring Saturn going into fucking Scorpio. And Venus squaring Neptune is just kind of like, like, it's like we can't get what we want because we don't know what we want, and we keep trying to describe it, and then we realize that that's actually not what we want. You're like, oh wow, now that I think about it, that's not what I want. So then you have to think about it again. And we've been down this road before. We've been dealing with this since like April and May with Venus squaring Neptune. What's stimulating? What's exciting? What are we actually valuing? And what is our distortion of things getting in the way? It's a frustrating I've been dealing with this forever, I feel like, too, because I've got Neptune squaring my natal Venus in Gemini, so it's just like, oh my gosh, I could riff on this all day. But then also on Sunday, Mercury squares Mars, and this just only begins. This goes into Monday. This is how we start the week, which we've talked about. Mercury squaring Mars. It's fucking frustrating. It's like, Mercury in Cancer is like when you're having a family party and you just want everyone to get along and be nice. And Mars in Aries is just like the uncle that riffs off about like the 5G shit and like is super racist and just like doesn't give a shit about what he says. Which there's a little bit of humor in that, but it's also just like agitating at the end of the day. And there's nothing about that type of situation that screams calm or at ease. It's very tense. It's very frustrating. It gets people's feelings hurt. It gets people worked up. That's kind of what this Mercury Mars square is. So there's a lot going on Sunday. Like the rest just to be clear, the beginning of this week seems pretty chill, but Mercury leaves shadow, mind you. Mercury leaves shadow on Sunday too. Like, we're starting to move forward. We're starting to understand what our needs are, and we're starting to communicate that. But if you guys that are watching that are recovering alcoholics, like, you fucking know, like, making those changes, doing those things first is so hard. Doing the new thing first, the first time, is the hardest time. And that's Mercury leaving shadow, because like it leaves shadow, immediately gets squared by Mars. It's like you try to do something new and good for yourself, and like bam, like the universe just says no, fuck you, and it's gonna be shitty, and it's one of those days you just kind of have to take a couple hits and fucking move on. This is kind of like let shit just happen, because it's meant for you to reflect on, because it's meant for you to do something else with. Because that's the Venus square Neptune part of it. It's like, well, you're going to get butthurt about something. Not everything's going to be perfect. And it's going to be really frustrating. And it's just going to make you question deeper what it is you really want, what it is you really value, what it is you're actually really wanting to connect yourself to. And yeah, that's kind of this week. It's kind of a lot. I'm not going to lie. Like, this week's kind of a lot. It's very dramatic. It's like a good TV show. It's like, holy fuck, this thing's going on, and then the next minute it's fucking this thing going on, and then it's fucking that, and it's good. If you like content, if you like real good juicy content, you'll like this week. If you wish you could just grill, it's gonna be a hard weekend to grill. But that's what this week's looking like for you guys. Next week, Jupiter sextiles Neptune exactly. Venus leaves shadow next week. And then Mercury's going to be opposite Jupiter and Pluto. But for now, this week, we are dealing with Mercury leaving shadow. We are dealing with Mars entering shadow, this new moon in Cancer, Leo season beginning, with Venus squaring Neptune, Mercury squaring Mars, all of this shit. A lot of blah this week. Lots of blah. So luckily, if things have been feeling blocked or low energy, this week is where it's all going to be kind of starting to pop out a little bit more and get things a little bit more exciting. But I think that's all I got for you guys. So yeah, make sure you check out the webinar that I did. I'll make sure if not tomorrow, Sunday when you're watching this, if not Sunday, on Monday I'll be posting the link to that here, and you can check it out. I'm going to try to get it posted on my website too. And also Tuesday, make sure you follow me on Twitch. It's in the description below. You can follow my Twitch so you can get the notification when I go live. Join us for I don't know what time, to be honest. So I wish I could tell you a time, but I just don't know what time it's gonna be. There's a lot. I got a lot planning this. I got a lot to plan this weekend. I'm so Jupiter and Capricorn about it. Just fucking winging it. Yeah, Tuesday I'm gonna be going live. So make sure you're there for it. And if you want me to use your chart as an example to look at it, that's why you should come check it out. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for being here, liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing. I love and appreciate every single one of you guys, and I will be seeing you next week.